Welcome to Class 2 in a series of classes on life extension. This class is going to be focused on learning to live without fearing disease. Yes, that's an important topic. Learning to live without fearing disease. I am Bob Guth. I am the author of 2 books on life extension, which are available on Amazon. Your natural your potential lifespan is 140 to 150 years. I want to say this over and over and over again, that you have the potential to live to 140 to 150 years. And I can already hear people grousing about this. Why don't people live that long? Well, people prematurely age. And they use the power of the mind in a negative sense, you might say. Well, basically what they do is they relate to the expectation of aging. That's what happens. But your potential is 140 to 150 years. And we're going to use the law of thought in a positive way to create longevity, to create life extension. We're going to invoke the power of your mind to create a long life. Thought creates. You might have heard this before. Thought creates. People know this, really, deep down. And I've heard the term thought manifestation, which is a pretty good term, really. And what thought manifestation says is that what you think about is what you create. If you intently put your thought upon it. When you're looking for a job, you first had the thought that you wanted to get a job, And the thought was the first part of the creation process. But in order to create anything with thought, you have to first believe it's possible, then you have to believe that you deserve it. And then you have to put that intention in your mind to do it, to create it. And when you start working with thought manifestation, you should start with simple things, such as you want to create bring into your life a pink flower. You might see a pink flower on an advertisement. You might see a pink flower in the garden. You might see a pink flower in the neighborhood. But you will create it because your focus is on that particular manifestation. And so let's look at the basic tools of life extension. What are these tools? Well, the first and most powerful tool has to do with affirmations. You affirm what you want to create. Affirmations. And at this point in time, they're probably the most powerful tool, and I recommend them heartily. I say an affirmation for life extension every single day. The first thing when I get out of bed and my feet hit the floor, I say an affirmation. And if I do happen to forget, as soon as I remember that I forgot it, I say it, And so when you do this day after day, week after week, month after month, it becomes a mindset. And then you begin to listen to the words. You need to listen to the words. What do the words say? Let's look at this. So I want to do this list of affirmations. We're going to say them twice. And the second time I want you to say them with me. So the first affirmation is, I am going to extend my life, and that is all there is to it. Now let's say it again, and you say it with me. I am going to extend my life, and that is all there is to it. And that's pretty powerful, really. When you say that, listen to the words. What do they really mean? They mean you're going to do it. And that really means you're going to do the things that you know are going to help you live longer, and you're going to not do the things that are going to cut your life short. So that's what that really means. And you begin to listen to those words, what they say and what they mean. All right, the next affirmation, let's say it together. I know the power of my thoughts can extend my life. So let's say it again. I know the power of my thoughts can extend my life. And indeed they can. Now listen to what the words say. The third one here. I know my potential lifespan is 140 to 150 years. And you didn't have the dream like I did, but you can say, I heard a guy had a dream, the potential lifespan is 140 to 150, and I'm going to do the same thing, This is as good as the dream I was given. The fourth one here we can say is, I know I can live longer than the mass consensus reality belief system norm. And indeed you can. I want you to say it again with me. I know I can live longer than the mass consensus reality belief system norm. Yes. Let's say the fifth one. I know that if my conviction is strong enough, it does not matter what anyone else may think about it. That's very, very important. Listen to what those words say. I know that if my conviction about it is strong enough, it does not matter what anyone else may think. That gets us into what's called fanaticism. And fanaticism can be a good thing, really, in manifesting what you want, as long as it's in a positive vein like this is. So if you become a fanatic, I kind of recommend that. It's going to help you do it. It won't hurt anybody else if you live longer, but you'll help yourself to do it. All right, the last one. I'm learning how to live without fearing disease, and that's the topic of this particular class. I am learning how to live without fearing disease. Indeed, and we need to do that. All right, but first let's look at the life extension practices. What are they? Well, there are many of them, but two important ones are breath work and fasting. This morning I did a half an hour of breath work, and it was a breath of fire. And I highly recommend this because it's almost equivalent to the extra energy and prana you get from a good workout at the gym, It's so cleansing. I can't believe how cleansing it is. Really, it's very cleansing. So the types of breath work that I'm familiar with are breath of fire, pranayama, which has a holding pattern, a slow breath, which is really quite powerful for controlling highly intense emotional states. That's good to get into the slow breath too. Precisely timed breath can actually reverse aging to some degree. This is really very, very powerful. Alternate nostril is also taught that helps to balance the body, helps to balance the brainwave patterns. And then fasting. You should begin to think about periodic fasting. And the masters recommend 1 day every week. And that's what I do, 1 day every week. And then the long fast is helpful for really getting rid of those toxins. I did an 8-week long fast this week. That was my longest ever. And you get used to it. You can do it. It takes a little time, but you can do it. And anybody can do a 1 day a week fast. That's not that hard. And if you have trouble with fasting, they have a lot of new methods these days. And intermittent fasting is quite popular. If it's hard to do for you, give intermittent fasting a try. So I want to do a couple of demonstrations here of the breath of fire, which is easy to do, and it's my favorite because it's just easy to do. And so it basically is nothing more than panting, really. You just basically breathe faster than normal. And it's very simple to do, and it's quite powerful, actually. So we'll do just a couple of breaths, really, to demonstrate how you do it. They talk about you have to move your diaphragm back and forth, but that's just normal. You have to do it anyway when you do the breathing faster than normal. So here we go. Just a couple of breaths of breath of fire. I know it looks a little funny, but it's powerful, and it gets you quite a bit of extra oxygen and prana. And before you do these breathing practices, it's good to say an intention of what you want the breath work to do for you. I say before I start and after I finish the breath work, I say, I request that this breath work heal all diseasements that I may have, and add extra energy and prana that can be used for tissue regeneration and repair, and general youthing. When you make these statements, it begins to put your mindset in the idea that this is how my life is going, this is how my life is developing and proceeding. And that's quite important, actually. It gets you into a whole new mindset pattern, and that basically is one of the great keys to longevity. All right. Let's look at why many humans, most humans, don't live. Very few humans live to 100 to 140 to 150 years. Why don't they live that long? What's causing this great shortening of the lifespan? That's basically about 60 to 70 years people will miss out on, One of the reasons people don't live that long is they die from a disease. That's true. So let's look at the major diseases people die from. You've got heart disease, that's the number one killer. Cancer, way up there. Dementia, getting more popular now, or common now. Diabetes, yeah, a lot of people get diabetes. All right, heart disease. Let's look at the heart disease. What are the causes and the cures and the preventions? The idea for this is really is to get into what's called a low-risk lifestyle. When we look at the cause of these diseases, we say, well, I know what caused them, and I know what can prevent them, so I'm going to do what prevents them, and now you've got a low-risk potential for getting the disease, and that's one of the keys here. So heart disease, what are the causes? Well, in the case of foodstuffs, it's eating cooked fat foods, which load the arteries with plaque. And most of you know what they are. Pizzas are big offenders in this. Any cooked fat food that's got a lot of grease, etc., cooked meat really is part of it. It goes on and on. Pastries are a part of it too. The idea of personality, a hard driving personality that's got to succeed, got to get things done, all that stuff, without taking time out to and smell the roses, so to speak. Smoking damages the arteries. Most of you know that. Alcohol increases high blood pressure. Alcohol is a factor too. So what are the cures? Well, moderate your personality. Stop driving so hard. Stop eating cooked fat foods. What's hard about that, really? Stop smoking. Yeah. That's a whole issue we'll get into in another class here. Stop drinking. Yeah, well. So the preventions really are quite simple. Temper your personality. Don't eat cooked fat foods. Don't smoke and drink. You get into it, you say, what's more important? Do I want to have a heart attack, or do I want to get into a lower risk lifestyle? So cancer is a big one too. A lot of people die from cancer. Let's look at the causes. Well, we all know that pollutants are the cause, and carcinogens are causes. Cigarettes. Did you know that cigarettes have 70 carcinogens? Yeah, that's what you read about. Alcohol has 7 kinds of cancer, creates 7 kinds of cancer. Red meat creates a 30% higher cancer risk. There's a toxin called heterocyclic in red meat, when cooked red meat, rather. Fried foods create obesity and inactivity. Thoughts of betrayal and revenge, yeah, that's part of it too. Unlearn lessons of your soul. That's a part of it too. We'll talk about that a little bit here. So what are the cures? Well, heavy veggie juicing is one cure. Many people have been cured from cancer with heavy veggie juicing. The Budwig diet is the most successful anti-cancer diet ever developed. And it consists of 1 cup a day, half of which is flaxseed oil and half of which is cottage cheese. Learning the lessons of your soul, along the lines of Dr. Rocky Hammer. Really, it would be a good idea to Google and read some of his new medicine points on the cause of cancer. So, learning it has to do with the lesson of the soul, unlearn lesson of the soul. All right, so what are the preventions for cancer? Learning to live toxin-free. No cigarettes, no alcohol or fried foods, and you limit your red meat quite a bit here. And no betrayal or revenge thoughts. You have to get into this idea of, I guess I created that scenario in my life, and I have to forgive the parties and forgive myself. That's the beginning cure here for the idea of betrayal and revengeful thoughts, and getting away from having these sorts of betrayal and revengeful thoughts. That's learning the lesson of your soul, really. All right, dementia is on the increase. Let's look at the causes here. Conventional medicine says it's damage to the brain. However, spiritual wisdom says it's a lopsided personality in which the mental side dominates. So what are the preventions? Conventional medicine says eat healthy, no smoking or alcohol, keep the right weight and blood pressure. Spiritual wisdom says, well, lifestyle changes must be undertaken to allow the physical, emotional, and mental side equal expression. And this is really quite hard for a lot of people to do because they've gravitated into the type of lifestyle and thought patterns over many, many years. And so it may take some coaching from healers to be able to get some change to that personality lifestyle that's going to reduce the risk for dementia. I should say about dementia too that there have been some cases of improvement with exercise, so that's an important idea too to consider. Diabetes. Let's look at the cause of diabetes. Conventional medicine says it's an autoimmune reaction that destroys insulin-producing cells. However, nutritional healing wisdom says it's an overloading of the insulin-producing cells to where they can't handle the overload anymore, plus a non-sweet lifestyle. And so, when insulin-producing cells are overloaded, constantly bombarded with way too much sugar, they break down. The same thing happens with alcoholism. Alcoholism breaks down and destroys the liver after decades of heavy drinking. And the same thing with smoking, really. Smoking loads the arteries and weakens the arteries and veins to the point where a heart attack is, almost guaranteed. So those things need to be looked at and addressed. So what's the prevention and cure for diabetes? Well, control your weight. That's part of it too. No processed sugar in foods and drinks. Yeah, that's sort of a lifestyle change for a lot of people. Exercise. Put sweetness back into your life, in relationships, in work, in recreation. Yes. All right, what are some of the ways to deal with infectious diseases that may come along, such as MRSA and now COVID? Well, colloidal silver is an excellent, effective germicide. And this has been known since antiquity, really. Colloidal silver water is an antipathogen. Colloidal silver slab is an antiseptic. From ancient times, this was known. Modern studies show colloidal silver has 1/10 the power of penicillin, even. And you drink a couple of glasses of colloidal silver water, and it really knocks something like pneumonia way down, just like that. There's quite a bit of literature on colloidal silver, too. I know people worry about turning the skin gray, but if you take it only less than 7 days in a row, it's not going to turn your skin gray, If you drink colloidal silver water less than 11 days in a row, there's really no worry about turning your skin gray. And I have used it successfully on MRSA, pneumonia, and COVID. I'm not going to say it's going to cure COVID because it won't, but it will knock the symptoms down to where it won't be life-threatening, and that alone is worth it. There are many good colloidal silver generators on the internet, and a good colloidal silver generator should stir the water. There are two types that I've seen. One uses a bubbling action, another uses a magnetic rotating stirring action, and both work quite well. And colloidal silver water is easy and cheap to make, really, and the colloidal silver slab is effective and quite cheap on the market. So what are some of the other healing remedies? Well, there are some people now coming to the fore here who offer energy healing and hands-on healing. And for those who resonate to that, that's quite powerful. Feeling loved and groups giving love. At church, the minister talked about a doctor who developed instantaneous life-threatening disease and was in intensive care and was in a coma and given up by the medical staff. But his family and friends came around, and family members held his hands. Even though he was in a coma, he could feel it, and it brought him back. I mean, feeling love and groups giving love are very, very, very powerful for healers. Exercise. We all know that exercise keeps the body in good fitness and good shape, and can help healing and prevent getting disease. And pharmaceuticals have their place. And they saved my life about 8 years ago from a very severe case of pneumonia before I got into colloidal silver. But anyway, pharmaceuticals have their place, and they've saved millions of lives, so they're another remedy. The herbal kingdom is quite powerful and not really well looked at by the average person. It's really good to get into some developing some knowledge about herbal cures. Heat, your body goes into a fever with an infection because the body knows that germs can't live in high temperature. So that's, heat can help you get rid of and heal some infectious cases. And some of the hot pool spas that are offered and saunas, potential resources here. Breathwork and fasting. Cures have been reported on breathwork from an amazing, just amazingly. Breathwork has cured many diseases, supposedly that were incurable. And also Brown's gas. Did you know that Brown's gas was approved in China for COVID cases? It was. Meditation and interdimensional work have cured many diseases. I went to a workshop of a doctor who had a broken spine from being run over by a truck. And he cured himself through meditation and using thought mindfulness. He visualized the spine being knit back together, and over the course of months it did. So those ideas are very powerful healers too, but you have to begin to develop higher consciousness to do that. We'll talk about higher consciousness in some depth later on. And getting out of nature, everybody knows that it's healing. It's relaxing, and that's part of healing. It's getting in touch with the way nature works, and that's healing. All right, another powerful aspect for healing is asking for help, using the universal law of help. And these universal laws given to the human race and the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom too, by the Creator, are very, very, very powerful. And the universal law of help says, when help is asked for, it must be given. M-U-S-T, it must be given. And so, when I asked what is the potential lifespan of a human, I was asking and invoking the universal law of help. And the help was given. I was given a dream, and the dream gave me the answer. But you must first ask for help. And humans usually do not ask for help. And the universal law of help is why prayers do work. It's one of the greatest gifts from God. If you should get some disease, you can and always should ask for help on how to cure it. We'll do a little affirmation here. I request help to cure myself from this disease or illness. So I want you to say this with me here. I request help to cure myself from this disease or illness. Yes. All right, eye-opener number 1. Let's look at this. It's important to understand that your natural state is one of health. Indeed, your natural state is one of health. Your children demonstrate this. They don't worry about disease. Worrying about disease creates it. Here's an eye-opener now. There are sound frequency formulas that can restore brainwave signals back to homeostasis, which cures the illness. So the sound frequency formulas actually change the brainwave signals such that there's a cure or no illness. back to normal here. So there's no illness. So this says that your thought patterns in the first place cause the imbalance and then the illness. So it's that thought pattern. All right, eye opener number 2. Again, your natural state is one of health. There are cases on file in which one person had 2 personalities. On file now, And one personality had diabetes, but the other personality did not have diabetes. So what does this tell us? It says that negative thoughts are always involved in illness and health problems. Therefore, positive thoughts and emotions create and maintain good health, while negative thoughts and emotions cause illness and health problems. And so, let's ask ourselves, what are the positive thoughts and positive emotional states? Love, and compassion, caring, kindness, generosity, cheerfulness, playfulness. These are all healing emotional states. So it's important to begin to develop this more and more and more and more. All right, also you should distance yourself from the media. TV addicts are the sickest people on the planet. I've heard this, and you maybe know some friends who are TV addicts, and they certainly aren't probably as healthy as the average person. The media, especially TV, heavily focuses on sickness, disease, and afflictions. They pump ads into the media timing programming because a lot of people want to make money off of it. And so the law of thought says preponderant thought patterns on illness and disease create them. It's the law of thought, whatever you focus on. There are dozens of ads on illness and TB every hour of TV programming. So begin to wean yourself off of TV and the media. Yes, indeed. The law of symbols. Here's the third universal law we're talking about on this class. The law of symbols is one of the 12 universal laws from the Creator. And it says one thing will be used to stand for another for learning lessons of the soul. One thing will be used to stand for another to learn lessons of the soul. And so, in the case of illness and disease, problems with the upper back and shoulders have the symbolic meaning of a difficulty of shouldering financial responsibilities and burdens. So it's the financial link. Lower back and prostate problems have to do with thoughts about unsavory sex. Eyes, problems with the eyes. What don't you want to see and block out and create a cloudiness of the eyes, and glaucoma and cataracts? It has to do with what you don't want to see going on in your life. Ears, what don't you want to hear? What are you blocking out? You don't want to hear constant squabbling and fighting. This is part of the problem with the ear dysfunction. Throat and lung problems the common cold has to do with unspoken thoughts or spoken thoughts of concerns and difficulties in the life experience. People sometimes get a bad cold first day of a new quarter of college. Why is this? Because of the unspoken concern about how am I going to do all this, and get through it all. Okay, problems with the pancreas, the insulin-producing area of the cells of the body, have to do with lack of sweetness issues because the pancreas produces insulin, which metabolizes sweet foodstuffs. The heart disease, lack of loving the self. A heart is a symbol of love, universally known as that. Cancer. The afflicted body area is a symbol of the type of cancer. Cancer of the bones, for example, have to do with losing financial support because the bones support your body frame. People who get fired from a job, for example, often develop bone cancer because the idea is that the support the body, the bone structure, is been removed by loss of the job. Dementia has to do with the dominating mind. The location of dementia, the mind, reflects the symbol going on, the dominating mind. Disease, lack of humility. It goes on and on like this. It's good to begin to learn about the law of symbols, the universal law of symbols. Learning to live without fear of disease. All right, so this is the goal of class 2, and we're going to look at some of the things that we can do here. And say this affirmation after me. This is my goal as a life extender, to learn to live without fearing disease. This is one of the goals of myself as a life extender, to learn to live without fearing disease. And deeper and deeper and deeper, I know a cure exists. Deeper and deeper, I know there will always be a cure for any disease I may get. Deeper and deeper, I trust my health. This is very important. Deeper and deeper, I trust I will be healthy. I don't have deeper and deeper fears I'll be sick. Deeper and deeper fears I'll be healthy. Yes. More and more I wean myself away from fear. Indeed, more and more I wean myself away from fear. More and more I live in greater joy. Yes, more and more I live in greater joy and happiness. That's important for a life extender. I regularly say a life extension affirmation. Yes, I regularly say a life extension affirmation. So let's say some now. I affirm that I am in health. I affirm that I am in health. I intend to stay healthy. I decree I will learn cures for illness. I am able to live without fearing disease. Indeed, you should go over this more and more and more and begin to learn to live without fearing disease. Well, that's class 2, and we'll begin. Class 3 will be about the foods for living longer, and you should enjoy knowing what foods will help you live longer and what foods to avoid. That's all for now. See you next class. Bye.